I'd like to introduce Christ and Rafael of Callebaut, which are the IT Infrastructure Manager Europe and the Head of Digital Communication. And then we also have our shining star, Charlotte Plettings, our change manager at the Devoteam G Cloud. So can I get a warm applause and welcome to our cast.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and listening to our session. So I will start. Oh, I have the agenda. So our first slide of introduction has gone. So we were going to introduce ourselves a bit. So I'm Charlotte Plettings. I'm part of the Work Transformer team. I'm a change manager, so it is not only about communication and training what we do. We are really accompanying clients throughout a change, for example, going from one environment to Google Workspace. And on stage, I have here Callebaut with Rafael and Christ. And I don't know if you want to go over the agenda.
I can do so.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Up, will it go? Yeah.
It's a great pleasure to be here and to talk a little bit about our 10-year journey in Google Workspace. Super happy that my partner in crime, as I always call him, Christ, is here, and we can do this together. So you see a little bit the agenda. We will talk about our journey from the start till today. Especially, we will talk a little bit about the pandemic, what this triggered in our company. And we will also be brutally honest with you. So not everything is perfect. There is still a lot coming in the Google Workspace that we have to deal with, and everybody at Callebaut has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that's also why we teamed up with Devoteam and have a nice success story to tell you. But before we come to that, I know we are in Belgium, so most probably some of you might know us. But let's still briefly talk a little bit about Callebaut. So we are statistically processing 20% of the global cocoa crop. That means you cannot find us as the Callebaut brand on the retail shelves, but we are in many iconic delicacies that you buy. So think of the Oreo cookies, think of the Ben & Jerry's ice cream, the Magnum ice cream, or I was super surprised and positively surprised about the present that you have on your chair. So Tony's, that's Callebaut inside. So we are in a lot of products. We are, meanwhile, 25 years old, founded by Klaus Jacobs, who did apply the outsourcing model basically to the chocolate industry. We are a B2B company, but we partner very closely with our customers. So the Magnum ice cream, for example, the chocolate around it, that was a joint development between Unilever and ourselves. So innovation is something in our DNA, but also sustainability, and I come to that in a minute. You see here we are headquartered in Zurich, but our largest chocolate factory is in Belgium, so in Wieze, Lebeke. So Belgium is one heart of Callebaut. Now, meanwhile, we are almost 14,000 people, half of our colleagues on the shop floor, half behind the screen every day. We call ourselves the purposeful, passionate chocolatier. So we work closely together with chocolate professionals, chefs, chocolatiers. We also have nearly 200 of them on our payroll. We train them, we show them how to use our products, we co-create with them. So it's a real true partnership. As I said, we are also very much engaged in sustainability. We just released a new set of targets that we have in terms of making sustainable chocolate the norm. So there we also put the leadership head on in the industry to bring bring it forward. Meanwhile, 1 out of 2 products is sustainable, so meaning traceable. We are now working on the other 50%. So that's something that's still in the making. Now, before now talking a little bit about our cloud journey, I hand over to Christ, who introduces you a little bit about the first phase, and then I will join in the middle phase.
Thank you. I don't know if it's on or not. Should be better, I believe. Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, thanks everybody for being here. Allow me to take you back, first of all, 10 years back in time, because this year at Callebaut, we actually celebrate 10 years at Google. So back in 2012, when we did our biggest acquisition of Petra Foods, we were still using Lotus Notes. For those of you that know it, I don't know, maybe some still remember it. It's an IBM product. But at that moment in time, we got a lot of pushback from the business because cloud started to evolve, started to be introduced, and we also wanted to have a tool, a product which was available, as you see, anytime on any device, for everybody, everywhere, so no longer the need to be connected and so on. So at that moment, what we actually did, and I like to tell the story, so I bring it again. Maybe some of you have already heard it, but we challenged actually the 3 main competitors on the market, IBM, Microsoft and Google, and we asked them to present their tool, their cloud solution, because we have a cloud-first strategy at Callebaut. We asked them to present their tool based on 2 use cases. Based on that, and that's the funny part of it, 16% of the people that were part of that exercise of Callebaut, which, by the way, were high-level people, so it was not just a blue collar in the factory. We really also introduced some key people here to make the decision. But 16% selected the IBM solution, and exactly 42% chose Microsoft, 42% chose Google. So what we did at that moment in time is we went back, the people that selected Microsoft, we asked them to work with for 1 month with the Google tools and the other way around. After 1 month, we went back, and at that moment, people that initially selected Microsoft said, okay, we can also do the things with Google. The reason we did not select Google was because we simply didn't know it too well. People that selected initially Google preferred to stay with Google. And this is why today we are still with Google. I tell the story why, because we have a lot of new people joining, and the first question we have a lot of times is, why are you not on another platform, on a mail tool? We were looking for a collaboration tool. That's the main driver for us using Google. Back in time, there was also the price aspect. Meanwhile, that flattened out a bit in all honesty, but still we're very happy with our selection. As you can see in 2013, when we rolled it out, we initially started with the basics, Gmail, Calendar, Google Groups, things everybody knows from private life, of course, to a certain extent only. And then later on, we extended to Drive. Back in time, that was only My Drive. Meanwhile, you have also what was called shared drives, meanwhile called team drives. Site, you had Google Hangouts, which is now Chat and Spaces. So those things were all there and we introduced. But similar to the Google Cloud story, actually change management is the key. So if you ask me already for lessons learned, change management is key. This is what we, by the way, still do today, what Raphael and Charlotte will later on tell as well and share what we do still today for that. But it's actually all about change management, communication, the same lessons learned we heard already in the previous sessions. So as said, we started in 2013 coming from Lotus Notes. Had a cloud-first strategy, went to Google, introduced some small Google Cloud solutions. We were developing applications on Google App Engine. We're using BigQuery, which we still do today. We further evolved over the years, still using the Office package. By the way, we still use today Excel. That's the question I always have, but we will not get rid of Excel. I'm very honest and open in that. The other tools you can discuss. But this is a bit where we went through in the first 4 or 5 years of our exercise, introducing the package, giving default training to the people, getting used to the new environment, and foster collaboration by using Google Drive. Meanwhile, also started to reduce or get rid of file servers. So in a lot of our sites at Callebaut, at that moment, we already started to reduce them. Today, we hardly have them. And then as of 2018, where we actually saw the first challenges coming back in our Google journey, we started with another exercise, for which I briefly hand over, Raphael, back to you, because you started to join me at that moment.
Exactly, that's a bit the story how a guy in IT and a guy in Corp Comms joined together, and where we embarked on the joint journey. So because back in 2018, I started to build the I call it a digital ecosystem in our corporate communications team, social media, etc. And so I also saw other people in the company working more and more in the digital sphere. So I started a newsletter talking about social media, digital trends that are relevant for us. But every now and then, I also brought in a Google Workspace, at that point still G Suite tip and trick, how you can capitalize on Google Keep as a simple note-taking app that is integrated in the workspace that you can also use in private life. And these digital or news from the digital corner then grew more and more. But then March 2020 changed everything. So the global pandemic hit us, and from one day to the other, we all went to home office, at least those who were not working in the factories. And this all went extremely smooth. We never had a hiccup, so everybody could continue to work from home. Since we were in the cloud for so long, everybody knew how the game was played. Google Meet skyrocketed. We did not have any hiccup as other tools had. So that was extremely positive, and it was also a bit a tipping point in the company when people started to realize what they actually have in hand with the Google Workspace tools. And Christ will tell you a little bit more about the adoption numbers before I then jump back in.
Well, I can do it very briefly, keeping an eye on the time. But in short, what you saw and what was accelerated during the pandemic is the number of man days we have for Google Meet. So what you saw is where before we were around 8,000 man days per month spent on Google Meet sessions, we raised to, at a certain point in time, even more than 24,000 man days per month. Today, as you can see, we're still at 20,000 man days per month. So you really see that during the pandemic and after the pandemic, people stay with what they were used to, working from home, having Google Meet sessions. So a lot. I was even surprised myself seeing these figures here today. Some other figures may be less important, but still an average duration is half an hour between 2 to 4 people. Why do I mention that? When we are now building our new offices or doing a refurbishment, we definitely see the need for smaller meeting rooms, less meeting rooms, or non-bookable meeting rooms where people go into an office, they just see if there is what we call a phone booth available, they go in and they have a Google Meet session with people working from home. We measure also the success ratio of our Google tools, which are currently measured by 93% by our people, which we are very happy of course. And if we look at Google Meet, you see that also 7% of the people is using their phones to connect to a Google Meet session. So also one of the advantages of using Google is that it is available from any device. As I mentioned in the beginning, one of our requirements. So we really see that people also using it. Of course, in our offices, we have Chromeboxes, the Chromebox for meeting devices. We have normal Chromeboxes for digital signature purposes. And then at the bottom, you see some figures where we are today in the user adoption. In case you were wondering why Gmail is not used 100%, these are the figures including also some generic accounts, which are then via delegated access used by other people. So that's why you do not see the full 100%. But you can see the figures at Callebaut today, what we are using to a full extent. And although as I said, we cannot get rid of Excel. You see that Google Sheets are used a lot in our organization. We also see people using it more and more, using connected sheets, having macros on it. So we really move a lot in that direction, which is a good sign and which maybe over time will allow us to take further decisions in that direction.
Okay, thanks. So we're now in a phase where Google started to roll out more and more features. So this is one issue of the newsletter I talked before, and more Google tips and tricks went into this newsletter. And then the first day of the pandemic, I remember vividly when the two of us, we had a call and we said, now this is the moment where we need to support more our people, where we need to give them more of change management support. So that was basically the moment we created weekly Google training sessions. So we invited, all in the organization were invited, and they could join 2 30-minute session, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, every week on a different topic. We talked about new features that came in, tips and tricks. We talked about how to best use the Google Workspace tools, why it should, why to use Google Docs and not Word, why you can capitalize on it and you can save emails, etc. So really, productivity tips for you as an individual, but also for you as a team. We did this for 2 years. At the beginning, we thought at some point we will have no topics anymore. But the speed that Google now also rolled out new features in the workspace was significantly increasing. And honestly, it was also sometimes at a pace where our colleagues couldn't cope with it anymore. So it was really a lot to digest for the end users. So we really tried to take them by the hand in order to counter the change fatigue that we also started to feel in the organization. So all these new tools. A side story, we also introduced a new social intranet based on the Workspace tool. So we used Currents together with Google Sites, so really relying on the Google tools for also internal communications. Spoiler alert, that we already have to change again. So Currents is being winded down by Google, so another change. So it will not end, and that's also why we then started Currents communities with tips and tricks. You see here the Google Workspace at BC Q&A space, where we initially created as a space for people to ask Chris and myself questions in between our training sessions. But meanwhile, it's a place where people help each other. So it's a discoverable space where everybody can access it in Barry Callebaut and ask questions. And in most of the cases, meanwhile, people are faster in answering and helping other colleagues than we are. So it's really the power of the crowd. But still, we had a problem with scaling. So we only reached a fraction of the people in the organization. And that's then when we partnered with Devoteam, and we created the Google Academy at BC, how we call it. And one element of that is our Google Owls Academy at BC. And Charlotte will now tell you all the details about the owls.
Thank you, Raphael. So, of course, we have our 2 experts here, Chris and Raphael. You cannot duplicate them everywhere in the world. So basically, how do you get that knowledge that they have available everywhere in the world? Well, they came up with that idea of having an academy, where people can learn, become experts in the Google tools. Here. So yeah, Google Workspace, it's a suite of tools that is evolving quite fast, and you cannot just stay up to date just like that. You really need to get trained, get information, maybe sign up to newsletters. So we decided to create a worldwide network of Google experts, which we call today the Google Owls. And it's actually something that is very catchy, because we were hoping to have 100 Google Owls, and in the end we have 120, which is something, as you are if you are a change manager, that's very impressive, because most of the time when you try to recruit ambassador for a change, well, you don't get there. And here we actually had a lot of success just with that idea of becoming a Barry Callebaut Google Google Workspace expert. So that we create a worldwide network of Google Workspace experts. These Google Owls, they are engaged for 12 months. So during 12 months, they will follow a program with advanced trainings, follow-up sessions. They will also have to go through 2 examinations, so examinations that we create, and they will have to pass actually to become officially Google Owls, the experts at Callebaut. And it's approximately 3.5 hours per month that they have to give in that academy. So of course, then they will learn, they will get support, they will be challenged in order to become our Google Owls. And we even have a logo that they have added in their signature and also on their profile picture. So once we have decided to launch that Google Owls Academy, we had to build the academy. And to do so, we actually leveraged on all the Google tools that we have. So we needed a knowledge base, and for that we used Google Site. And as you can see here on the left side of the slide, you have the knowledge tree. So we really build on that whole idea of the owls. Okay, owls, where does it go? Okay, it goes in a tree. So we build the knowledge tree, the place where they will find everything they need. So they have their owl kit. It's basically a checklist. They can follow up on all the to-dos they have to do, follow training sessions, succeed in examinations, write tips and tricks for their colleagues. They also have access to the whole planning of the whole year. So at any time they can check when they have trainings. Again, here it's done via Google Sheets. Maybe you know the timeline feature in Google Sheets. And we also have created what we call the Google Owl Oath. So basically, during the kickoff of the Owls Academy, we really invited all the participants to take an oath where they would basically promise that they would share their knowledge that they have acquired, that they will promote Google Workspace to their colleagues, and that they will never leave a colleague in a Google Workspace distress. Because we really want them to also engage with their colleagues, that we really want them to help their colleagues in becoming better in Google, but also know better Google Workspace. So it's a whole universe we built on that theme of the owls. And we also believe that Owls Academy is a supportive community. Because of course they get all that information from us, but we also want them to be a community where they will be able to ask questions to each other, where they will be able to share tips and tricks with each other, and also, of course, get last-minute information about the academy. And here on the right side of the slide, you have a capture of the conversations that we have in the nest, because we have called it the nest to stay on the theme. And you can see, here it was the fact that we were announcing our follow-up sessions. We do have reactions, we have comments, we have pictures. And I think that for me, and maybe for you too, it's something that is very successful, this nest, that we really see that snowball effect. One person started to post a pun about, there is no knowledge without owl. So they really took on that whole theme, and they really are interacting in that space, and even on topics that we wouldn't have expected, like extensions, tools that we were not going to present during the Owls Academy, really going wide in the knowledge they want to acquire. So that's actually one of my favorites. And of course, being part of that Google Owls Academy is challenging, because you have to participate in all those training sessions. You have to succeed in your examination to become officially an expert at Callebaut, but it's also rewarding. So if you are attending your trainings, if you are succeeding in your examination, you actually earn points. For example, if you write tips and tricks, you also earn points. And you will see your name evolve on this board game that you now see, a board game that we also have created with the Google tools. And you can basically see how you're doing in your process in becoming a Google Owl. And the goal, of course, is to reach the final step in the middle. And if you're one of the Google Owls that has earned the most points, you will be receiving a very nice Google present to reward your investment for a whole 12 months, of course, because it's a real engagement that you take when you decide to become a Google Owl. And to show you how this is actually an ongoing success, here are a couple of numbers. So we have 120 owls in total, and we wanted to have 100, so that's already a nice success for us. When we have training sessions, we have an average 95 owls that participate in training sessions. So it's actually quite high too. The other ones that can't attend, most of the time they tell us, and they're very sorry, which is quite funny. And they can follow the training sessions later thanks to recordings. Also, something that is very nice when you're a change manager is to see that people fill in your feedback forms. So here, after every training, we request feedback, and here again we have around 100 answers, which is also quite high. So we can say that 20 people haven't filled in the feedback form. This is something I can only dream of for other projects. And then when we go more in the details regarding the scores, here it's about the trainings, what they think about the trainings, how satisfied they are, was the training appropriate to their needs. Here we have 90% of the answers that are agree or strongly agree. So here again, a success that our, a good reflection that our trainings are accurate, that they are interesting, and that we should keep on going actually. And finally, to give you a bit of the energy that we get from the Google Owls through the Nest, here are some captures of the Nest, so our chat space where the Google Owls can come, discuss, ask questions. So we have 120 owls who interact in that space, but actually it's not over. We still have people 3 months later, actually 4 months later, that are now requesting to become Google Owls. So they have heard about the Academy. They have heard that it's an incredible platform for innovative ideas, that there is valuable knowledge shared there, and they want to become owls. So sometimes it's a bit hard to say no, right?
It is.
So so that's where we're at now at Callebaut. But of course, that's not all of it, because we're not stopping here. And I'm going to...
So indeed, thank you. So what's next? Maybe first on the Google Academy. So we are thinking about having a second year. So as people that already graduated for the first year can extend. As said, we have a lot of requests about, for example, AppSheet, Locker Studio, those kind of things, which we initially did not foresee. So we will probably bring that into a second year of the Academy. On the other hand, we have people asking to join. So next year we will probably have another first year students, let's say, if I can put it like this, that will join the Academy. Of course, we will follow the Google roadmap if we then look in general outside the Academy. So what will we do at Callebaut? Following the Google roadmap, Raphael mentioned we swapped to Google Currents. We meanwhile are forced to move now to Google Spaces and Sites it will be. We will definitely further introduce Google Classroom, which we use now for the Google Academy, but we will also use it for other training purposes within Callebaut. And then, of course, last but not least, and I hope to hear more in the next session about it, but we're looking very much forward to the AI tools that are coming in Google. We are on some of the things in alpha, on other we are on beta releases, but we are looking and exploring what it could bring to us as a company and where we can have added value, let's say, out of the AI tools in combination with Google. So that's a bit it, following the Google roadmap, looking at the trends and see where it will bring us. I don't know if there are any questions, because from our side, I think we came to an end.
Yeah.
By the way, don't forget to eat your chocolate. The more you eat, it's very good. I can recommend it.
What I saw here was brilliant. This is one of the products I believe you have in your company.
Sorry, can you repeat? I could not
what
understand
you
the
just
beginning.
mentioned with the Owl Academy, it's brilliant. I'm curious how you expand this in other products or other knowledge-related trainings in your company.
Well, I must say the Google Academy, as we do it today, is the first we do in Callebaut. We, of course, know the principle of what we call power users, which is a bit in line, I would say, with the Academy. But the Academy goes much further because we really first give in-depth training to the people before they then, let's say, further share the word. So we were wondering if it would be a success. As you could see, it was very successful. So we're now looking into, indeed, introduce the same principle using the same tools, but for other platforms. What makes it easy for Google is that everybody, of course, uses it. If you go on a specific topic which is used by a small group of people, probably there will be more challenges, but the principle, the idea of having, let's say, the academy where you teach people, where you train people in depth so that they have, let's say, the full knowledge is definitely something which we will now further explore and further introduce for other platforms as well. Can, for example, if we go a bit more related, can be a Salesforce Academy, can be maybe later on an SAP Academy, things like that. But that's the direction we want to go in. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think we need to do a bit of internal PR now. I mean, what was important at the beginning is, and Devoteam was very much pushing us on this one, to really have a sponsor from the executive committee. So we had our CFO who welcomed the Google Owls, and now having basically passed the first exams of the Owls, we will report back to him, and also then start doing more internal PR and talking about the success of the academy. But we need to scale it. It's really something. Yeah.
Other questions?
No.
I was just curious if you did any assessment on how long would it take for a power user and non-power user to do certain tasks, or kind of if you had any quantitative impact on how much more can a power user do?
Well, it's difficult to measure, I would say. What we see, I showed some figures on the percentages where we are today. So you have some work insights in Google where you can track. So we definitely see there an improvement. It's difficult, of course, to say, is this now only the result of the Google Academy? Is it just people adopting more to the tools? Is it maybe new tools coming in or new features coming in that people like? I think it's a combination of all of them. But we see improvement, and one thing which is very important for us, which we start to measure now, is, but coming with Google Spaces in combination with, is that we actually want to reduce the number of emails. We tracked that at Callebaut. I think we're still an email company, in all honesty, although we push towards collaboration and we made huge improvements there already, but we still want to lower down the number of at least internal email communication, move more to spaces. You have seen some nice examples, as Raphael mentioned, the power of the crowd inside the Google Spaces, but we want to go more in that direction. So that's what we're now all measuring or starting to measure. But I think it's very difficult to give you one figure saying, look, we moved from, let's say, 60% to 80%. That's probably where we are. If we look at what are people using today, what could they use, or where could they further benefit of? But it's difficult to give you an exact figure. But we see improvements, definitely, and that's also why we believe in the principle. Yeah.
And I'm still working on boosting the whole thing for the next phase to actually get rid of all the MS Office programs, but we are not on the same page yet there.
That will come. Any other questions?
If no further questions, then I hope you all, just like Raphael and myself, looking forward to the next session on AI, because that's what's next for us.